So where else would you want to be on Valentine's Day?
The hospital. Don't worry, I'm not giving birth.
We don't think so.
False alarm.
Maybe. Still don't know for sure.
I have no doubt in my mind that I'm going home.
Welcome to Bryson's due date. Today is actually Bryson's due date,
Yep.
but God had different plans.
You can tell things are different.
Okay, so it's an hour later, and we're still here.
We're not going home. We're having a baby.
All right.
Water did, in fact, break a little bit. So they're going to give me medication to help start the process, I guess. So my contractions are about 8 minutes apart, according to the monitor. Baby sounds good. Got my IV in.
Feeling good?
I am so nervous. But yeah, we're going to rock and roll and do this.
All right, you got this, babe. No, I'm good.
So, Valentine's Day, baby? We don't know.
Or February 15th.
Or February 15th.
We'll see, whenever Bryson wants to come.
There you go.
So Monday night, you got out of the shower.
Mm-hmm. I dried myself. I walked from our bedroom to the kitchen. And during that walk, all of a sudden I felt a cool sensation in my underwear. And I was like, oh, that's weird. I'm like, did I not dry myself properly? So I checked my underwear and it was a little wet, more than, what I thought would be if I didn't dry myself. So I told you.
Right.
And we didn't really think anything of it. We were just
right.
like,
Well, I was like, you came and like sat down on the couch, and I was like, okay, well, it can't be that much because literally wearing the same underwear and pants, and you sat on the couch.
Yeah.
Like,
and
if I ever have a dribble after going to the bathroom, I will change my underwear right away. So I was like, okay, this is not your water breaking, right?
Right. And I changed my underwear to see if there was any more, because they say if your water breaks, you're going to have continuous dripping. So I was like, oh, I'll go change my underwear. So I did. And nothing.
So no more drips.
No more drips. So then fast forward to Tuesday. I was on the phone with my sister. It was around lunchtime. And I mentioned that to her. And she said, I think you should go to the hospital, because I was having a lot of contractions the night before. And then it just stopped once I felt that cool sensation, went to bed, this and that. And then it started again on Tuesday. So I'm talking to her and I told her, and she's like, you may have ruptured. I don't know. She's like, you may have broke your water. You don't know. So I called the doctor, and they were on their lunch break. I spoke to someone. I told them my symptoms, and they said, go to the hospital.
Well, first you called me.
Yes.
Freaking out.
Yeah.
That, it's already been
over 12 hours.
Yeah, it's been 18 hours at that point.
Yeah.
Almost. And you were freaking out that something was wrong. You hadn't heard him. You wanted to do the fetal,
the Doppler
heartbeat monitor. And I was like, you know what? Let's just go to the hospital. Let's just, you said the office didn't open until
2. They were closed from 12 to 2 for lunch.
And this was like 1 o'clock. So I was like, let's just go.
Yeah.
And then you still were able to call and get a hold of one of the answering service. And and we were on our way to the hospital, and they said, yeah, just go to the hospital.
Yeah. So got there, checked in, got into a room.
Right.
And they swabbed me to see if there was amniotic fluid that had come out of me the day before.
And we were convinced.
Well, not just us. The nurse even said, she's like, I highly doubt it. You're not dilated. You're only 1 centimeter. And I was going to see the doctor the next day anyways.
Right. And we told her, like, what your experience is that just small cooling sensation. And
yeah, she's like, probably nothing. And this is Valentine's Day, by the way. And so she's like, it's going to take an hour. She leaves.
I had a nice dinner planned.
I know.
To make you.
I know. And so we're there. we left all the bags in the car. We didn't bring anything in with us. And an hour later, she walks in and she goes, "Well, your water did break."
I think she said, "Well, you're not leaving."
Yeah, you're not leaving the hospital because the test was positive. It was amniotic fluid that you lost. So it was a very small rupture. So what happens is your water technically breaks, but it's very slow. It didn't have like the full floodgates yet. So they admitted me. Mark got all our bags, and it was go time. So the first thing they did was they had to give me medication to thin out my cervix, so that my water would fully break. And the medication is called like cytokine or something, and it's a vaginal pill that they put in you, and that kind of basically starts speeding up the contractions. They had the monitor on me. They had the monitor on the baby. So they were seeing the contractions. They were very minimal pain, very minimal. And I was okay,
And I was monitoring the monitors.
How are you feeling, Dad, to be?
2 thumbs up. Feeling good.
You look pretty dressed up for childbirth.
You know, missing an important meeting just for Mr. Bryson.
All right.
That's right. He came at the perfect time.
Because you got to miss a work
Got
meeting.
to miss a very boring,
Contentious
meeting.
I saw you checking out the little bed over there.
This is where he's gonna get weighed in, I think.
Yeah. I mean, this is where the magic happens. Yeah. There's the lights. You know what they say, when the lights turn on, it's showtime.
It's showtime.
It is.
All right.
So, all right.
Hours away.
Let's do this. And so they said he's not coming on Valentine's Day. Like,
okay, 15 hours at the hospital. You just got your 4th dose of Cytotec.
Cytotec. I think so.
Spell that. How do you feel?
The contractions are pretty rough. I'm not gonna lie.
All right, so that's the 4th and final dose.
And then we start Pitocin to dilate me faster. But before we start Pitocin, we're gonna epidural it.
But you only need Pitocin if this doesn't get things going.
No, it most likely will happen, she said, because this Cytotec thinned out my cervix.
Mm-hmm.
And now Pitocin is going to open my cervix so that Bryson can just slip out.
Slip out. No pain at all.
Yeah, no pain at all. Childbirth, it's definitely a mental game.
You goat this.
I goat this. That whole morning, man, and you can attest, my contractions were getting rough, like hardcore. I could not even.
Right. And you'd finished the 4 rounds.
Yeah.
And then you were jumping into the Pitocin.
Well, they said, okay, well, now we have to start Pitocin on you because we need you to dilate. I was still not dilating. I was still only 1 centimeters. And each one of the nurses that came in, the day nurse, night nurse, they were just like, that's generous to say 1.5. You barely are dilated. So here we go. It's like, 11 o'clock. And the one nurse is like, if you need the epidural, tell me before I go into the C-section I'm about to go into. And so I'm like, excuse me, I need an epidural. I'm in pain.
Okay, so it's now 21 and a half hours since we've been here. And now we're waiting on an epidural. We thought we were going to get one like 45 minutes ago, but being a trooper and hoping the anesthesiologist shows up in the next 15 minutes or so. How bad's the pain?
It's bad. It's a 9-10 when the contraction comes. And the nurse is gone. She's in the section, in the C-section. So Mark was good, and he ran and found somebody else, and we were able to get the anesthesiologist in to give me the epidural, which was awesome. Let me tell you, because I did not feel any contraction.
Don't be a hero.
Don't be a hero if you're in pain, like I was. I mean, I was having contractions and I could not feel them. I was just like, oh, okay,
Right.
a little pressure. So at that point, they start pumping the pitocin, like boom, 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 to like increase, to dilate me. And they would check me like, how often were they checking me? Like every few hours, right?
Right.
And I wasn't dilating.
Right.
So things took a turn though at around.
It was around 5:30, and we're expecting your doctor to show up,
Yes,
right? Because
to check and kind of see what's going on.
Her day finishes around 5.
Yeah.
And so.
Well, I was laying in the bed, and they were like, "You should rest. You know, you're gonna have a very long night ahead of you." So I was resting, and I started feeling flutters in my heart, which is I've had palpitations in my life. It's something I've dealt with my whole life. And I have a cardiologist, and we planned this, and we talked about my whole pregnancy, and how you can get palpitations when you're pregnant because of all the hormones and things like that. So as I'm laying there trying to rest, I'm feeling like the flutters. And I remember I kind of like woke up because I was half asleep, and I said, my mom was in the room and Mark, and I'm like, I'm feeling like flutters. This is weird. And then boom, all of a sudden I went straight into what's like called tachycardia, where your heart rate goes well over 120 beats per minute, but mine was at 220 beats per minute at its highest. Right. So it's basically like running a marathon, while you're standing still.
So I came over the bed and like tried to calm you down, and like nothing was happening and no one was coming into the room. So I ran out, went to the
nurse's
station, and I was like, and right when I got there, they're like, "Did you notice room 1? Or you see that? She's over 200." So then it was like I didn't have to say anything. I was like, the nurses ran in.
Don't cry.
Okay. Then the nurses ran in, and a doctor came in, and they call the code blue.
Which, if you don't know what that is, it's for cardiac arrest. Not that I was having a heart attack, but obviously.
And her beats, her heartbeat was 220 beats a minute, and this was going on
for 5 minutes.
For 5 minutes already. And you just had a rush of 15 people came to the room. I was by your side, and then I had to step away, and
yeah. So I
had concern for you, concern for Bryson.
The good news is that they looked at the monitor, and Bryson's heartbeat was extremely normal.
Yep.
And they looked at my blood pressure, and my blood pressure was extremely normal, which is very weird because my heart's beating obviously extremely fast. And I heard them call the code, and they say code blue, crash cart needed in labor and delivery room 1. So I see the cart.
Yeah, you're aware of what's going on, and you're like, I don't want to die.
Yeah, I turned to the anesthesiologist who was standing right there, and I'm like, please, I don't want to die, because I was really scared. I was really, really scared. And I'm looking over at Mark, and my mom's crying, and Mark's looking at my mom.
I was composed there, but it was like I was like holding it back, and I was really holding back for your mom because, your mom had a stroke
a few years ago,
and I was really concerned for her too.
So all this is going around, all this is happening, and we have now cardiology on the line. You have 2 anesthesiologists in the room with me, all these nurses, and they're quickly working, and they pump a medication straight into my IV that basically helps my heart go back to normal. And
your doctor also showed up. Your doctor showed up.
Yeah,
too,
my doctor was there. And everyone's kind of like, they're concerned, and they're all looking at my heart, because when I had these episodes in the past, they didn't last very long. And I can either lay down flat, which they did. They immediately laid me flat. I can do certain things that will help, but nothing was helping.
Tried holding
the carotid artery.
Yeah.
Nothing was helping because I was so anxious too, because clearly I'm in a place where I'm having a baby. I don't want anything to happen to the baby. I don't want anything to happen to me. But I want the baby to be saved, obviously, no matter what. And I remember they put the medication in, and my heart went back to normal. And I was just like, it's back to normal. And they looked, it went from 220 to 100 within a second. And they're all sitting there. Everyone left. The anesthesiologist stayed. They're like, okay, we have a plan. If it starts again, we're going to just put this medication back in you. And I'm like, how much is this going to have? Like, what are we going to do? And they immediately, my doctor's like, let me check if you're dilated. I still was not dilated.
Right. And this was, but it was 20 minutes almost of
all of this happening.
A heartbeat over 200 before it went down.
So we looked at the doctor, and the doctor's like, you're not dilating. I'm going to keep giving you Pitocin, which is a hormone. It's a hormone drug that's going to help you contract and help you obviously dilate. And so,
or you can do a C-section.
Or you do a C-section. And she's like, I don't feel comfortable putting your heart through a marathon again. Literally running a marathon in 20 minutes is what my body went through. And so
but she said it was like our decision. And I was like, well, you've been through this a lot more than we have. Like what,
And my mom's like looking at me. My mom's like, don't even think twice. Do the C-section right now. Get this baby out. Because at this point, my water had already broken, and it had been almost 48 hours.
Right.
48 hours that I had that rupture on Monday night. We're now at Wednesday, right? The 15th. So I said, let's do the C-section. And I was crying. I was nervous. I was terrified because I'd never had surgery before.
Okay. We're an hour 27, 28?
I don't even know. We had a setback. I had heart palpitations, which is something I've had. So and I'm not dilating. So the doctor is wanting to go ahead with the C-section, which I was not anticipating. So I've been through every emotion. I'm very nervous, you can tell.
But you're gonna be okay.
My heart is back to normal. I have this in just because I ran literally a marathon. My heart rate was over 200 beats per minute. So we're gonna go do a C-section.
You got this.
And we're gonna have a baby in the next hour.
How do you feel?
I feel good. I feel good now. I really do. Yes. I'm ready to see Bryson.
And I'm getting all suited up as if I'm going to be a doctor. I'm going in the operating room, which is, it's something I've never experienced before. And so I'm so glad I was, able to do that. But so I'm all suited up, and they're like, okay, but they had me waiting outside while they prepped the room.
Yeah.
And just keep in mind that all this happened within an hour. Like, okay, we're going to do a C-section. Okay, we got to go. This is an emergency C-section. And so.
I'm going to start crying again because I was just so scared. And the doctor told me everything, wheeled me into the room. I said bye to my mom. And then we went into the OR. You waited for me. And then they, you get numb from here down, which again, C-sections are not supposed to be scary, but I was terrified that something was going
to happen. It's emergency C-section.
Yeah.
It wasn't planned.
It was very fast, and the anesthesiologists were like poking me, like, can you feel this? No, good. And it was just all so rushed. And all of a sudden, obviously I'm numb, and they're like, if you feel nauseous, let me know. And everything was very slow motion. Like I was like mumbling, like I'm nauseous. And it was so hard for me to like formulate words. And I was just like, oh God, I hate this. And Mark's next to me, and they start cutting. And I started getting so nauseous, and I'm like, I'm nauseous, and they're pumping me with more things to help me not throw up, and they're giving me a bag in case I do throw up. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm having a baby right now, and I can't even enjoy this moment.
I'm outside waiting. They said they're going to call me in right before they're going to start cutting.
That's good, Lord.
Okay, start cutting. And so they had a little sheet up,
Yeah.
right? So we were
Basically
hidden
from here.
from the cut, and you're spread out like this, right? And I'm basically holding, not my job. They didn't tell me to hold you down, but
you were holding my hand.
I was holding you kind of your arm, and they started cutting, and then you could feel like them pulling your skin. Like I could feel like over here. I was like, oh wow, and they said you wouldn't really feel anything other than a pressure, right?
Like a lot of pressure.
So they were cutting away, and they're like, okay, I'm like, they're starting to pull them out, and okay, we're just both like waiting and waiting and waiting. We can't wait to hear his cry, you know, and then we're still nervous because like if we don't hear his cry, you know, something's really wrong. Right?
And then I heard him cry, which was the best sound ever.
Is Bryson crying?
I don't know if it does. It probably does. I don't know. I don't know if it afterwards.
Hello. Wow, it's like everybody came today to the party.
It's Bryson. You sure? They said I could. No, they said no. Yeah. Hi, Bryson.
All right, congratulations.
And then I was able to go over and say hello to him, take his first picture, and 7 pounds, 5 ounces.
20 inches?
20 and a half inches, and just obviously he's covered in all this muck, but he still looks perfect.
Yeah.
And then I got to bring him over and hold him for the first time and hold him with you. And you were just like,
out of it.
over the moon happy.
Yeah.
And say out of it, you were just like I've never seen you happier.
Yeah.
Like wedding day, nope, this was it. Bryson's arrival into this world. So as much as you were out of it, you knew what was going on, and you knew, and he was here, and he was healthy, and he was happy. And then so a nurse takes me and Bryson, and we leave the operating room, and we roll him in a cart down to the room we were in, room 1, and the nurse gives me a little bottle to feed him, and then that was it. Nurse left, and it was just me and Bryson. Bryson and I got to hang out for like 25 minutes, just the two of us, before anybody else came in, and then a nurse or doctor came in and check on him, and then you got rolled in.
Then he got rolled in.
And then you got rolled in and got to say hello to Bryson.
Yeah. I got to hang out with him.
So scary moments, but
so I'm alone now with our newborn, and I'm sitting there, and because they started giving me Pitocin again, to make you contract so that you lose everything that's inside of you. And they're giving it to me, and I started feeling the flutters again, and then I went again, tachycardia. And I couldn't reach the call button, and I couldn't yell for help because I was still numb and weak. And so I don't know even how I mustered up the strength. I have this huge cut to grab the call button, call the nurse, and then they're like, call center, and I'm like, I need my nurse in the room right now. I'm like, I'm full-blown palpitations again. She comes running in, another person. Again, I'm by myself this time. I don't have Mark, I don't have my mom, I have nobody. And they inject the same thing in me, and my heart then calms down again. And you come back, and I remember us looking, and I talked to my sister again, and she's like, look, Pitocin is a hormone, and one of the side effects it could keep doing is causing these palpitations. So I had to basically in Mark to stand up and say, hey, is there any way we can stop this? Because my heart can't take this anymore. Like, I really can't. And we weren't combative or anything, right? But
No.
ultimately, they stopped it.
But they were giving you the Pitocin because you still have to.
I still have to basically contract and get everything out of
get
me.
all the stuff out of you.
And continue the bleeding.
The C-section didn't
right. The C-section
complete the process.
Yeah.
Right? You have to, because you were in labor and everything that they give you, but they continued to give you Pitocin, and certainly this may or may not have, caused it, but certainly the combination of the medications and being in labor and the stress and everything else, that might have been it, but maybe it was the Pitocin. We don't know, but we thought
it was a combination.
What was at least, can we at least stop this medicine? And so we did, and
I didn't have any other flutters, which is good. And they ultimately moved us to a different room outside of labor and delivery because I had to have monitors on my chest, where a cardiac unit was monitoring me for a few days.
Right.
And we stayed in the hospital for a few days, but in the end, we got a beautiful, beautiful baby boy. I'm happy and healthy. He's
Bryson George Bresnahan.
Super happy and healthy. And
doesn't he look so cute?
Yeah. Yeah.
He's perfect.
He is.
He's perfect. He makes the cutest little sounds.
He does make the cutest sounds. And we're tired, but it's worth it every sleepless hour. But we're home, which is the most important thing.
Right.
And that's the whole story of what happened.
Scary moments, but it's all worth it, right? Right.
So all worth it.
I think there are perfect stories of from conception to birth, but there's always it's a roller coaster, and
you gotta go with it.
Just fight through the trials, and whatever obstacles come your way. Just keep your faith in God. Everything happens for a reason. Be your own advocate, right?
Definitely. If you feel something's off, keep repeating what you're feeling. Don't.
Right. And we had some incredible doctors at the hospital, and but you got to really let them know, like, hey, this is how I'm feeling. This is what I've experienced in the past.
This is what I know. This is,
And it's okay if you're researching your own and just throwing your opinion out there. I mean, I know there's probably some doctors that are like, I've been doing this for a long time. Like, you don't need to give me an opinion, but at the end of the day, be your own advocate.
You know your own body. That's what I learned. You know your body, and you know what happens. And I know hormones are not great for me. Like my heart, with hormones, because I would always have palpitations during my period when you're most hormonal. So I knew something was off. I knew it, when all of this was happening. So you gotta stand your ground, be tough.
Okay, so that is the birth story. We will follow up next week with bringing them home and
more,
and all the other challenges that come along with that.
All the adventures. All right.
The shark adventures continue.
Until next time. Adios.
Bye.